And here we are, tasting wine with Pete and Dave again.
Hey mate, how are you? Very good. What have we got today?
Hey
Interesting
Pete,
little lineup.
yeah, before we start out, I just thought I'd cover a few little points about wine tasting. I mean, the way I look at this is we're here talking about wines, tasting wines, but I really have a sense that we're here teaching people a little bit about wine and wine tasting.
Well, starting people out on their journey. Perhaps,
Exactly, exactly.
Which is always a good thing.
There are all sorts of parts of the tongue that detect, your taste buds that detect different things.
Yeah.
For example, in the back of the tongue, it's a pretty well-known fact that you taste bitter.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that the scientists have all agreed on, and I think even still continue to agree on, that bitterness, in its most primal form, if you like, it's a basic winemaking fault, and you're going to get that at the back of your tongue.
Yes, and I know that there's a lot of discussion out about the taste buds on the rest of your tongue.
The sweet and the salty
and
and the
where that
sour
detects.
and the acid and all that sort of stuff.
The old theory about that is that the sides of the tongue detect the sour.
Yeah.
The tip of the tongue detects the sweet and the salty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and the middle of the tongue has quite an assortment.
I think it all gets mixed up in there once you get to the middle.
And you
true.
can Google this sort of stuff too.
Absolutely,
so.
And I think it's a good thing to do. It's worth doing because I guess part of it helps you to train your mind and to think about where you're picking up the different sensations and which parts of the palate are responding to, like wood, tannin, acid, all of those things as well. So,
and there's some terminology that people use in the industry, and this is worldwide. And I think that's the reason they came up with what they call the aroma wheel.
Yes.
The aroma wheel is quite interesting, and I strongly suggest people look this up as well. There's an endless amount of information about the aroma wheel, and it detects. It shows you things where you get into a classification of, for example, floral. And all of the different things that can possibly be detected, like honeysuckle and orange blossom and jasmine and violet.
Absolutely,
when we're talking about the big dark fruit characters, it gives all sorts of suggestions about the dark fruit characters as well. So again, something to check out online. The aroma wheel?
Absolutely. Well, the first one of those I became aware of in popular terms was, I think, at the University of Davis in California, in America. And I can't remember, Patricia Noble was her name, in fact, the lady who started out with that. And it's a great concept, and a lot of people have tinkered with it, including her, and have done different things. But as you say, it's interesting because you often talk about it. We will often talk about a particular aromatic profile that a wine has, and then you think, well, unless you've actually experienced that, what does acacia smell like? What does jasmine smell like? We all got a bit of an idea because people have bought perfume that says, oh, this is jasmine, but is that what jasmine smells like?
And I was just talking with someone this week who quite interestingly said all these years she thought that they put essence into the wines so that you could get these strawberry characteristics.
Because you get a wine, a wine nerd, if you like, someone like us sitting there going, oh, this smells of strawberries and marinated meats or whatever the wine is, and you think, oh, okay, so they're putting a little drop of that in it, it's worth
anyway.
It. So.
Something that I thought I'd point out people can learn from. We've got quite a selection, I think, of wines today. There's a couple of great whites and 4 reds.
Right, okay.
So we're going to start out with a Robert Oatley. Now this is a Margaret River Chardonnay 2012.
Right.
I think we reviewed this a few weeks back.
But the good folks at Robert Oatley have decided they want us to have another look at it. And,
absolutely.
We always want to encourage people to do that sort of thing, so we're happy to have another look at it. You sort of look at Robert Oatley, we know his story, been in the wine industry a long time, basically the power and the force behind Rosemount, which started out at the end of the 1960s in the Hunter Valley. And
what's his America's Cup boat?
Wild Oats.
Wild Oats.
Actually, no, that was Sydney Hobart. Right.
Oh, right.
But he's the guy. Actually, that's the other thing. They talked about it after the recent America's Cup, where the Americans came back from the dead to hold off New Zealand, and apparently Robert Oatley he said that I want to be bankrolling the next challenge so that the Australians get to challenge the Americans for the America's Cup. So anyway,
first thing I get on as we were talking about the aroma wheel is the peaches.
Yep,
it's
tropical fruits.
Absolutely lovely. Now I haven't chilled this, Pete, because I wanted some of that flavor and aroma to really come through in this wine. And quite often people get wine too cold and they don't get the full benefit.
Particularly oak-driven white wines, or at least white wines that have got oak in them. They don't. You don't want them to be oak-driven, but if you've got a white wine that's got any amount of oak in it, really, and if you chill it too much, then all you're going to get to taste is this hard oaky sort of stuff. So, if you want to get the flavour, the aromas, the palate, the characters you want out of Chardonnay, then it's best not to chill it very much at all.
Wow, and that's just beautiful. It's such a great integration of the there's really creamy characteristic there. There's the oak. There's the white peaches, and I think it's an absolutely beautiful. Beautiful
peaches, nectarines, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, tropical fruit, and a classic medium-bodied Margaret River Chardonnay. I mean, Margaret River does Chardonnay as well or better than anyone else, and that's. I don't think it even costs $20. It's not a particularly expensive wine, and
I think that'll age for quite a long time.
Yeah. Oh, look. I mean, it's got the structure to keep. There's nice acid, nice balance of flavour. I don't think there's any, and good length of flavour too. The carry is pretty good. So, but that's just a typical modern style of Margaret River Chardonnay, and you're not going to go too far wrong with that at all. So
beautiful,
good wine.
All right, next one I'm really looking forward to. This is Yalumba. Now, I don't know that much about the Viognier grape.
Oh, okay.
This is interesting because it's the Eden Valley Viognier from 2008.
Oh, okay, all right. This is their Virgilius, I noticed there. That's their flagship Viognier. And Yalumba, of all the bigger, I guess, companies in Australia, they're still family owned, if you like. Same mob that started out in the mid-1800s, but they've done more with Viognier as a variety than probably anyone else in Australia, to champion Viognier and make people aware of the possibilities. It's always, Viognier throws a lot of flavour at you.
There's a lot happening in that wine. And, I wouldn't have thought you'd drink a Viognier with age on it. I just never...
Well, you tend not to, because Viognier, a little bit similar to Sauvignon Blanc in the sense that there's not a lot of acid in it. So Viognier normally does its best work within a couple of years of vintage. It's unusual to have a Viognier that will become complex and more interesting with bottle age, even just to the point of saying, okay, here's a bottle of Viognier and it has stood up over a period of time, because normally they just become broad and flabby because there's not enough acid to hold it together.
That's not flabby.
No, but that's a $40, $50 wine as well, so you'd want to hope it's going to hold up pretty well.
That is holding up very well.
But Eden Valley's pretty cool too, so you start out with quite a nice line of acid through that.
The flavors just keep rolling across the tongue. This is really interesting. I mean, it's something that it's definitely a food wine. This isn't something that you sit down and quaff on its own or sip away at. It's definitely something that you'd have with turkey. You'd have with, I thought maybe a trout.
You could.
With lemon juice and onions, some of those big flavors.
Yeah, you could, but you'd want a fair bit of flavour in the dish.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that would go well with a meatier, fleshier style of fish, like a salmon even.
Salmon, yeah.
And you often hear people say that you can drink a lighter bodied red with salmon. Well, this is your full bodied white.
Barbecued salmon.
Absolutely, yeah.
Beautiful.
But big flavours. Apricots is one of the things that they often talk about with Viognier, and you get a lot of that in this. But yeah, it's holding up really well. It's drinking supremely well now, and you think, okay, it's 5-year-old Viognier that has actually become more interesting with that time, rather than just become falling over.
Wow, that was a really great opportunity. Like I say, I haven't had that much opportunity to taste that many Viogniers, and it's particularly with that age on. So that was really interesting. Now, our next one, we're going to the Franklin Tate Estates. Now, this is another Margaret River. This is a 2011 Cabernet Merlot.
Cabernet Merlot, the standard Margaret River red blend. We've had the white with the Chardonnay, and now we've had a Cabernet Merlot.
Now, being the name there, I don't know, our viewer might not know that's my surname.
I was going to say, we don't want anyone to miss out on the opportunity to know
Absolutely.
how his name is spelt.
So I think I may be giving away some Christmas gifts this year so that people will remember me.
Well, I hope Franklin gives you a bit of a rebate. I mean, he should have enough money to do it. Frank Tate was the man behind Evans and Tate, the famous
Yes.
WA company, and he was the Tate part of the deal. Evans has long since been forgotten.
Now I get some lovely black currant characteristic, obviously, from the Cabernet.
Yeah,
there.
you get varietal character. You do get that varietal character, the Cabernet character, the Cassis sort of black currants, black dark fruits, quite fragrant.
Yep, some good dark fruit on the flavor. Some good dark fruit flavor on the palate as well. There's just a tad little bit of a green.
There's a bit of a hard edge to that.
Yeah. Now I tell you what, it's interesting because I've tasted several bottles of this and the 2011, and I think I sense that in some of it there are varying degrees of that sort of green unripeness.
A little bit of a stalky character.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you think maybe they could have left the grapes on the vines for another couple of days.
Yep.
Maybe they picked a couple of days too early or whatever. I mean, there's some nice character in it, but maybe not quite the fleshiness that you would like.
Yeah.
And whilst 2011 was difficult in much of Australia, it was still pretty good in Margaret River. So most of Margaret River did pretty well in 2011. So, yeah, a nice wine, but maybe could have been a bit more flesh on the palate.
We got another 2011. Now this is McLaren Vale. This is the Robert Oatley McLaren Vale Shiraz.
Okay. Right. Well, this is a wine that I guess you're starting to tell a little bit of the modern day Robert Oatley story, in which this label sources fruit from regions that are identified with the grape varieties that they use. So they've got Chardonnay from Margaret River, and here you have Shiraz from McLaren Vale. And again, that's what McLaren Vale does. They do good things with Shiraz.
The winemaker.
Yep.
Larry
Cherubino. Yes. I don't know whether we mentioned him last time, but yeah, he's a modern day star. A guy who I guess was headhunted by Robert Oatley, obviously. If you've got enough money, you can go and pay for the best. And,
well, this wine won a gold medal in the Decanter Awards.
That's true, yeah. I remember being told about that the other day. And that's interesting because it's an English publication, certainly the best known of the English publications that we see on wine here in Australia. And they would have adopted, I guess, a European sensibility in terms of the way they judge or analyse their wines. So, yeah, you're looking at something that's probably medium-bodied.
It's beautiful. I just get it on the nose. I can sense the char in the oak. I can sense
but good oak, but not overdone.
No, not overdone at all.
A little bit of earth there, a little bit of sort of crushed brick character, a little bit of that chocolate character again that is often identified with McLaren Vale. Yeah,
you really certainly get that chocolate characteristic across the palate as well. Absolutely beautiful. Big, dark berry fruit. And like I say, that oak is there. There's just a slight little bit of that toastiness in the oak, and it's just all integrated into a really well-balanced wine.
Yeah. And again, the hand of the winemaker, the experienced winemaker, comes through in a vintage that was, not as ideal perhaps as one or two of the others earlier than it. McLaren Vale did okay in 2011, probably better than Barossa or Coonawarra for argument's sake in South Australia, but still not as successful in an obvious sense as what maybe the 9s and 10s were. But good winemakers know what they're doing, they get everything right, they make sure the grapes are handled well, and that's the hand of the winemaker in the winery to make sure that you've got a really well-balanced wine, medium-bodied, not over the top, everything there. One of those sayings that we often use, everything you want and nothing you don't want.
Absolutely.
Beautiful drink, easy to drink, and would go well right now with almost any sort of red meat. And actually would probably still keep quite well, in the short term as well. So that's a good drink.
Beautiful wine. All right, the next one. I love it when a wine takes me back to somewhere I've been for a long time, Pete.
No, this must come from New Zealand or America, perhaps.
Yeah, well, when I think about it, I actually spent more years in New Zealand than I did in America before I left, because I went off when I was 18 years old, and I left the country. So, yeah, I spent more time in New Zealand. This one is a Craggy Range. This is a single vineyard. And it's quite a blend. It's a Bordeaux blend without the Petit Verdot. So it's got Cabernet, it's got Merlot, it's got Cab Franc, it's got Malbec. But it is Merlot predominant.
Merlot is what drives it.
From the Hawke's Bay.
I've had previous editions of this one, but not this one. So.
And this is a 2010.
Okay. Yeah. No, these guys do good things, and as you say, the Bordeaux blend, if you like, driven by Merlot, which is what most of them are. They do get great results from Merlot, and there's a fleshiness and a structure to the Merlot that comes out of Hawke's Bay, which is quite distinctive, and it tends to be, I guess, different from anything we do in Australia.
The first thing I get on the nose is that real plumminess.
Absolutely,
from that Merlot.
Well, and you'll often hear people talk about plums, and you hear people talk about Christmas cake and mince pies and things like that, and you do get a lot of those aromatic characteristics from something like this.
Wow, that is really ripe fruit.
Yeah,
absolutely luscious.
Yeah, luscious, but not over the top.
No. Oh, wow. That's beautiful, and it's a beautiful example of what they can do in the Hawke's Bay. Very interesting, I think. The Hawke's Bay puts out some really, really ripe fruit, both Cabernet and Merlot. But Merlot is definitely what they do the most of.
Well, they do great things with Shiraz as well, although they tend to use the French nomenclature. They use Syrah rather than Shiraz. And they do good things with Chardonnay as well. So Hawke's Bay, they do great stuff there. But the Merlot is probably, I guess, the style of wine that we have become associated with that sort of.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, last one we've got on our list here is the Penfolds Bin 128. Now, this is a Coonawarra Shiraz, and this is 2008, so it's got a little bit of age on it.
Okay.
So,
indeed. So the one wine in the Bin series from Penfolds, which is actually specific to a region. We've probably said that before as well, but
and the first thing I get
comes all from Coonawarra. It's the only one that does. The Bin 28 Kalimna is multi-regional, even 389, 407. 407's Cabernet, but it doesn't just come from one place. The Bin 389 is a Penfold standard, but it is multi-regional. But yeah, the 128 is Coonawarra Shiraz, and that's all that is in it.
That's absolutely beautiful, and I get both on the nose and the palate. A little bit of that bottle age already appearing in the flavors and on the nose.
I think probably the interesting thing to talk about that being a 2008 is that it's essentially lost its absolute primary fruit, but it has not yet become an old wine. So it's in that sort of mid-range status, if you like. So you've got a bit of you can tell that it's Shiraz, and it's got that standard Penfolds oak treatment on it as well. But it's in that little middle stage. It's not just an entry-level fruit bomb, but it's not yet a complex, complete old wine. So it's sort of on the road to getting there.
Yep, and I get, obviously, Shiraz, Coonawarra Shiraz, you get a little different characteristic than the Barossa or McLaren Vale.
You do.
I don't get as much chocolate there.
No.
But there's definitely some of that spiciness.
Well, Coonawarra is a lot cooler, so you're getting, it's essentially a cool climate, especially for Shiraz. But I guess the overall impression of that is it's a Penfolds reed, and yes, they have used Coonawarra Shiraz, but they've put their stamp on it. And so you look at that and you think, okay, we're getting the Penfolds oak, beautiful structure.
Incredible balance.
Great balance and nice length of flavour. A very warm vintage in Coonawarra. 2008 was hot everywhere. But it's a wine that's got really, I guess, classic pencil shavings oak is an expression I often use, and you get that with that sort of wine. But yeah, it's as I say, it's a couple of years past the primary fruit stage, but it's not quite yet into the old wine stage.
And there's just some very nice tannin at the end.
Absolutely,
Just holds it all together.
Good, nice gentle tannin.
Yep.
A nice rounded, gentle tannin, but good structure, good length. And yeah, you could sort of say, okay, if I had a box of that under the house, then I'd be happy to look at that again in another 5 years.
Absolutely.
It's not going to go anywhere bad.
Well, I'm going to see you sooner than 5 years, Pete.
So that's probably a good idea.
Thanks very much. We'll see you next week.
You will.